The year I lived in Germany, I was an Ausländer. Literally translated to outlander, it is the German word for foreigner. My official purpose for going to Germany was to study linguistics, specifically the syntax of modern Germanic languages with Dr. Sten Wigner at the University of Stuttgart. But my unofficial aim was just to improve my German. Although I was a star pupil in my German classes in America, having actual conversations with real Germans in Germany presented some challenges. For example, trying to explain what s'mores are in a language that doesn't have words for graham crackers or marshmallows. I learned the hard way the German word for replace when I clicked a button on a German computer and replaced a report I'd been working on for hours with a blank document. One time I was at the doctor's office and I was getting an exam and the doctor told me to make myself free. I wasn't familiar with this euphemism, so I just sort of flapped my arms a little. And he said, no, take off your shirt. Oh, that makes more sense. About halfway through my year in Germany, I hit a wall. I felt like my language was not improving anymore, and I was getting impatient with German culture. I felt like Germany didn't have much more to offer me. But then a few things happened to change my perspective. The first is, I took a Spanish class. The textbook was in German, the class was in German, but I was learning Spanish through German. So when I would get frustrated that I couldn't remember a Spanish word, it would feel like a huge relief to fall back into German, a language that it turned out I could express myself in. And then I got a haircut. An American acquaintance of mine had told me about a cheap new barber he discovered. Always on the lookout for a simple, cheap haircut, I took several trains and subways far beyond my usual commute to an area of the city I've never been to before. I walked past several warehouses and found this barbershop in a Turkish neighborhood. Now, the Turks were the largest minority in Germany. They came to the country in the 60s and 70s to rebuild infrastructure, and they were called guest workers, and they stayed and started families. So I walked into this Turkish barbershop, and I sat in a chair up against the wall and waited for my haircut. It was an active place with lots of men and boys coming in and out. Everyone spoke Turkish, and I didn't understand a single word. I also didn't understand the protocol for who was supposed to get a haircut when. And I couldn't notice any sort of pattern for the hierarchy of when you get your haircut. And at one point, voices rose, and it seemed like people were arguing, and the barber raised his hand and made an announcement, and he pointed to two guys, and then he pointed to me, and then he pointed to a few other people. So even though I couldn't understand his words, I understood this to mean that I was third in line for a haircut. As I sat there waiting for my haircut, it occurred to me that although I'd been living in a foreign country for 6 months, I had never felt so out of place before. I was in a room full of people who didn't look like me, who spoke a language I didn't understand, and who had customs I didn't understand. For a white American man, it was a humbling experience, and one that I think a lot more of us could benefit from. For a lot of immigrants, this experience of feeling out of place is a daily thing. Finally, it was time for my haircut, and there was none of that chit-chat that you usually have with a barber, which was fine with me because I've never really been good with small talk. At the end of the haircut, the barber said two words to me in German, 10 Mark, which was 10 Deutschmarks, which was the equivalent of about $6. I paid him, and then I left. So after my Turkish haircut, being an American in Germany didn't feel so foreign after all. And then I met Nicole. She was a German student getting her master's in English and was looking for a native speaker to practice her English with. And in return, she would help me with my conversational German. The first time we met, we talked for 2.5 hours. She said she liked my Nebensätze. Nebensätze are German subordinate clauses, which complicated are because the verb always at the end goes. It's like Yoda speak. For our second date, the second time we met, we talked for 4.5 hours, And the conversation started in the student lounge, moved on to dinner, and then we ended up at the Irish pub. A week later, we went back to the Irish pub, got drunk, and went back to her place, where we continued the conversation horizontally. Nicole had heard a theory that the best way to learn a foreign language was in bed. And this theory proved correct. Having a German girlfriend changed everything. The last 4 months of my stay in Germany was a completely new adventure. Nicole took me home to the little German village where she grew up, and I met her family, and they embraced me and closed me into their heart, as the Germans say, ins Herz geschlossen. And I even attended her brother's wedding, which was a cultural experience I never expected when I went to Germany to study syntax. At the end of my year, I returned home, but I brought with me a large German vocabulary, lots of great stories, a German girlfriend, and the empathy that comes with living as an Ausländer for a year. Thank you.